A hard disk drive or HDD. Introduction to PC hard disk. Construction of a hard disk. This is the hard disk in which your all persistent data remains. So you can say this is the primary storage drive for your computer. Let's see the construction of the hard disk drive. Hard disks are rigid plates composed of a substrate and a magnetic medium. The substrate, the plater's base material, must be non-magnetic and capable of being machined to a smooth finish. It is made either of aluminium alloy or a mixture of glass and ceramic. To allow data storage, both sides of each platter are coated with magnetic medium, formerly magnetic oxide, but now almost exclusively a layer of metal called the thin film medium. This stores data in magnetic plates with each platter capable of storing a billion or so bits per square inch. It is BPSI of a platter surface. Now let's have a look at the geometry of the hard disk drive. Typically, 2, 3 or more platters are stacked upon each other of a common spindle that turns the whole assembly at several thousand rotations per minute. There is a gap between platters, making room for magnetic read and write head mounted on the end of actuator arm. This is so close to the platters that it's only the rush of the air pulled around by the rotation of the platters that keeps the head away from the surface of the disk. It files a fraction of millimeter above the disk. On early hard disk drives, this distance was around 0.2 mm. In modern day drives, this has been reduced to 0.07 mm or less. A small particle of dirt could cause a head to crash, touching the disk and scraping off the magnetic coating. On IDE SCSI drives, the disk controller is a part of drive itself. Now, let us see the operation. As you can see in the picture, there is a case, a controller, a read-write head, the platters, the spindle is there, and on that magnetic platter, your data will be stored in the magnetic form. The disk platters are mounted on a single spindle that spins at a typical 10,000 rotations per minute, which is called RPM in short. On EIDE and SCSI drives, the disk controller is a part of the drive itself. It controls the drive's servomotors and translates the fluctuating voltages from the head of digital data for the CPU. data is recorded onto the magnetic surface of a platter in exactly the same way as it is on the floppies or digital tapes. Especially and essentially, the surface is treated as the array of dot positions, with each domain of magnetic polarization being set to a binary 1 or 0. This is how the data is recorded onto the magnetic surface. The position of each array element is not identifiable in the absolute sense, and so a scheme of guidance marks helps to read and write ahead and find positions on the disk. When it comes to accessing the data already stored, the disk spins around very fast so that any part of its circumference can be quickly identified. The drive translates a read request from the computer into reality. There was a time when cylinder head sector location that computer worked out really was data's location. But in today's drives, more complicated than BIOS can handle. And they translate BIOS means basic input and outputs requests by using their own mapping.